I did something in Prague that absolutely terrified me. I showed up with zero plans, no itinerary, no messy list, nothing. For someone who usually spends hours obsessively planning every trip and every detail, this felt insane. What is even more insane is that I handed over my trip planning to ChatGPT. But then, what happened next completely shocked me.
Oh my god, look at this view.
For context, I was recently in Prague visiting my atelier that turns the designs I create for my baby brand, Ari Blake, into physical products. Since this was a work trip, I decided to keep my schedule wide open during our visit to prioritize my work and figure out what to do with any spare time we had using the help of AI. I know it was a very risky move on my part, considering this was my first time in Prague and I brought my mom along with me on this crazy journey. The last thing I wanted was to disappoint her for traveling halfway around the world with me, especially after a very long, exhausting, but super productive first day at the atelier with back-to-back meetings. I wanted to make sure the rest of the trip was spent on exploring this beautiful city and spending lots of precious quality time together. But then I realized I had no itinerary, no plans, no idea of where to go, what to see, or what to do. As a type A personality, this was a very nerve-wracking feeling for me. So that first morning, we woke up at an unforgiving 4:30 a.m. because of the jet lag. We rolled out of bed, put ourselves together, and went to break our fast at the highest-rated breakfast spot we could find that was open at such an ungodly hour. Oh my, coffee and brunch. We sat down, placed our order, and while we waited for our food to arrive, I decided to delegate the very important task of planning out our day to ChatGPT. The prompt went like this: I am visiting Prague. Make me a walkable itinerary of the best things to see in the city of Prague and put them in order of nearest distance from each other so we can be the most efficient. Our starting point is Oh My, coffee and brunch. Within 2 minutes, I had a walkable itinerary of the city with recommendations on what to see and explore at each stop, and offered to map the itinerary into a step-by-step Google Maps route and a table with each stop organized in the order from nearest to farthest. To be honest, this was a great starting point, but the real test was to walk this route ourselves to determine if it would really leave an impression on us. And so our adventure began. After breakfast, we walked about 5 minutes to the Peace Square, a dramatic neo-Gothic church surrounded by beautiful Art Nouveau buildings. In about 10 minutes, we made it to Wenceslas Square, which is the heart of the new town in Prague. You can see the gorgeous National Museum at the top of the square and enjoy a leisurely walk down the road lined with shops, restaurants, cafes, and lots of souvenir shops. This vibrant road, which is part of the new town, eventually leads to the Old Town Square after walking for about 12 minutes. As we were walking down this road, following our AI-guided Prague itinerary, I was starting to feel a lot more comfortable with the idea of using AI to navigate and enhance our trip. But I wasn't blown away just yet. So then I decided I would see how far I could push my luck. As we were walking around the city and admiring all of these beautiful monuments and architecture, I wanted to know more. But the idea of getting a tour guide to show us around the city and spend hours potentially exploring things we weren't really interested in wasn't really something I wanted to do. I wanted to have a completely bespoke experience with my mom and take our time to explore the city in our own way at our own pace. And that's when I decided I would challenge ChatGPT to be my personal tour guide in addition to being my travel agent. I mean, who am I? I'm not gonna lie, I hardly recognize myself when I put my travel plans in the hands of artificial intelligence, but here we are, and what happened next completely shocked me. As we were walking around the Old Town Square and admiring all of these gorgeous historic buildings, I whipped out my phone, turned on ChatGPT, and used the camera mode to point at any structure I was interested in knowing more about, and then my jaw dropped.
This building actually looks like the old town hall in Prague, especially with that big clock tower on the side.
ChatGPT gave me the historical cliff notes on every building, monument, statue, and structure I pointed it at without any of the fluff. It could even decipher between different plants and flowers like it was a horticulturist. And if I wanted to know more, I would simply ask it specific questions that I wanted to know, and out came a perfectly narrated description of exactly what I asked for. Nothing more, nothing less. And it was perfect. Well, almost perfect. I thought to myself, if I can do this with ChatGPT, what else can I do if I unlock its greatest potential? Okay, at this point, you're probably wondering, what is she talking about? And no, I haven't lost my mind. I'm just one of those people that really believes in the power of AI as a tool to enhance our experiences and our way of life on this earth. If we learn to use it in harmony with our existence, the possibilities of what we can achieve and experience in this world is truly infinite. This is exactly the reason why I have been using this Chrome extension called Ultra AI that embeds itself into your ChatGPT and literally unlocks its greatest potential. With this tool, you can pretty much do anything from building your own apps like a daily productivity tool, an expense spreadsheet that calculates everything for you, educational games for your little ones, truly anything you can imagine, you can create with Ultra. You don't even need to know how to code, you just need to be fluent in one thing: English. That's it. So let me show you what I did to take my personal ChatGPT tour guide to the next level. On my computer, I set up a persona, which is exclusive to Ultra, and I called it Expert Tour Guide. I gave it a prompt to act as my personal tour guide and gave it the specific parameters I wanted. I told it to tell me about the historical significance of a particular building, structure, monument, statue, etc. when I pointed my phone camera at it, and tell me something unusual about that particular thing that is not common knowledge. This takes about 2 minutes to set up, and then it instantly syncs with your ChatGPT app on your phone, so you can quickly and easily switch to any persona mode on the go. And what happened after I did this blew my mind. Can you tell me about this art piece?
Absolutely. So this piece looks like another one of those really cool optical or dimensional artworks. It's a stunning Baroque church right in the old town square. It was originally built in the 18th century. So the building you're looking at in front of you is the Tuscany Palace.
It was like we were transported into our own little world with our own personal tour guide that would only intervene when we wanted it to, and this brilliant tour guide fit into my pocket. The stories, the history, and the significance of each place we explored was brought to life in a way that I have never experienced before. It was in this moment that I realized I never want to waste hours of my time or precious energy planning my own travel itinerary or booking a tour guide ever again. This was the only way I wanted to experience traveling on the fly and immersing myself in the culture of a place I'm visiting from now on. With this hack, you can literally make a persona of anything, such as a pro chef persona that can spit out a gourmet recipe at you if you just tell it what ingredients you have laying around in your fridge, a translator persona that can directly translate any conversation between two people in different languages without interrupting, and so much more. The translator persona I created really came in handy for me on this trip whenever I needed to ask for help or guidance from a local, or when I needed help translating a menu, a nutrition label, or a sign into English. I actually use ChatGPT Ultra for a lot more than just travel. It's a tool I use daily to enhance my personal life, like creating custom to-do lists, in my business to manage inventory and finances, in motherhood to make story time more fun by creating different personas of my kids' favorite characters like Super Mario and Moana. I also use it to write my emails, work inside my documents, do my spreadsheets, and basically be my personal assistant across the web. It's truly a game changer when you start using it in your everyday life because it just enhances everything from your productivity to your creativity. And it's just a one-click Chrome extension install that will instantly transform transform your basic ChatGPT into something you will want to use every day. The best part is, I personally know the founder because, well, I married him, and I might be biased, but I think he's a genius. And lucky for you guys, being married to the founder of Ultra comes with many perks, such as getting you guys a 50% off discount code using my link getultra.ai/Nikki, or by clicking the link in the description box below. Now, if you think this is impressive, wait until you see all of the things we did, saw, and ate in Prague thanks to the recommendations of ChatGPT Ultra. Finding the perfect place to stay during our time in Prague was probably the only thing I pre-planned aside from our flights and organizing our transfers to and from the airport. But of course, I used the help of ChatGPT Ultra to find exactly what I was looking for. As someone who travels quite often and has stayed in many different accommodations, from Airbnbs, luxury hotels, boutique hotels, private residence, all-inclusives, and much more, I realized that when I'm traveling without my little ones, I truly prefer a cute little Airbnb or boutique hotel that has a lot of character and privacy. I really don't care to be waited on hand and foot. I want to be able to come and go as I please, and I wanted to feel at home. So of course, I took all of my preferences and put them into a prompt, and the top result that ChatGPT Ultra generated for me was Accordion Boutique Hotel and Suites, which was a lovely building located just steps away from the city, housing several Airbnb suites that are all super spacious and full of character in their own way. Our suite had 2 separate bedrooms, a cute little balcony overlooking a private courtyard, a full bathroom, laundry machine, kitchenette, and work table. Perfect for my mom and I, super secure, and if we needed anything at all at any time, all we had to do was send a message to the owner through WhatsApp. I'll leave all the info in the description box if you guys want to check it out. One thing I've come to learn from traveling to different destinations over the years is that I much prefer a bespoke experience over a touristy one. Honestly, leaning on ChatGPT Ultra to guide and narrate our trip in Prague was one of the best decisions I've ever made because it felt really unique and aligned with the things that my mom and I are interested in doing. Thanks to the walkable itinerary setup, we were able to see and explore all of the main landmarks of the city while taking our time to slow down and pause whenever we felt like it. We saw everything from the Charles Bridge, the astronomical clock, the Prague Castle, and the St. Vitus Cathedral, the new town, the old town, and everything around and in between. Another benefit of planning your own itinerary using AI is that you can completely customize it the way you want. Don't feel like seeing the Charles Bridge and want to see the Lookout Tower instead? No problem. This kind of flexibility and customization is something you can't do if you're relying on a real-life tour guide or tour guide company to show you around. I was also so impressed that we discovered some hidden gems that we probably never would have discovered without using this method, like this breathtakingly beautiful panoramic view of Prague that ChatGPT Ultra suggested from the Terrasa U-Prince rooftop bar located inside of the Hotel U-Prince, literally a few steps away from the astronomical clock. Another experience that blew me away was a live classical concert my mom and I enjoyed at the Spanish Synagogue. This was a complete fluke of a discovery as we were walking past it on our AI guided tour on a Wednesday afternoon, and as our luck would have it, there was a live classical concert held inside of the Spanish Synagogue only on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. So we decided to take a chance, bought our tickets, had an early dinner, and enjoyed some of the most beautiful live music we have ever experienced in our lives. It was truly magical, and we came to realize afterwards that many of the churches and synagogues around the city also host live concerts featuring different musicians and repertoires, but I am so happy we ended up going to this one. It's definitely a core memory that will be ingrained in me forever. If you want to experience something more unusual and thought-provoking, I highly recommend checking out the I Am Illusion Museum of Optical Illusions. It was so much fun, and you can see and explore all of the art and installations within an hour or so. Fun fact, I used to be obsessed with optical illusions as a kid and could spend hours dissecting them, so this was so nostalgic for me. Speaking of nostalgia, walking around Prague brought back so many memories from my childhood, from the intricate bohemian crystal creations that would adorn my grandparents' apartments, the Matryoshka dolls my brother and I would play with endlessly when we were little, the Slavic confectionaries I used to die for as a child. It was as if I was reliving my childhood all over again. Another interesting fact I learned while visiting Prague is that the Czech Republic is famous for its use of garnet gemstones in their jewelry making. The reason this was significant to me is because garnet just so happens to be my birthstone, so naturally I felt very connected to this beautiful stone, this country, the culture, and its people for so many reasons. On our last day of exploring, my mom decided to surprise me with a live portrait drawing on the Charles Bridge to commemorate this very special trip. And honestly, I never thought I would do something like this, but this artist she found was so insanely talented. And since it was a gift from my mom, I decided to experience what it would be like to sit on the other side of the canvas for once and let someone else interpret what they see through their eyes, using their art as a vessel. Sitting there, not knowing what was happening, made me feel very uncomfortable at first, but once I decided to lean in and let go of any discomfort, it was truly such a liberating experience. I honestly think everyone should try this at least once in their life. And this portrait captured a moment in time that no photograph could ever capture. One last thing I would highly recommend if you are planning on doing a lot of walking through the city like we did is to stop over at one of these Thai massage places for an indulgent fish soak and a foot massage. There are a few locations scattered around the city, so you can use Google Maps or ChatGPT to suggest the nearest one to you as we did. After walking over 30,000 steps for 2 days straight, I can't even begin to tell you how incredibly necessary and amazing this felt at the end of our trip. If I'm to be honest, I really didn't have high expectations for the food scene in Prague because as someone who comes from Slavic roots, I naively thought that I would just find a bunch of goulash and potato salad everywhere. But to my surprise, Prague has a really diverse and elevated food culture here, and you can find anything and everything from Vietnamese to Italian cuisine and beyond. I'm going to share only our favorites from the places we went to, but I know that there is so much more to explore and experience that I haven't even got to yet. And if you live in Prague or have visited in the past and you have some top recommendations for me the next time, please leave them for me in the comments. I will be beyond grateful for your suggestions. For the coffee lovers, we really loved La Boheme Cafe. They ethically source their beans and roast them to perfection, and the coffee is really flavorful and well balanced. For breakfast, we really enjoyed Oh My Coffee and Brunch. It's a little Vietnamese spot right around the corner from our Airbnb, and they were super accommodating with any preferences we had. The coffee was also really good, and they do offer their famous Vietnamese coffee on the menu with condensed milk. We also really enjoyed Serniki. They have a few different locations around the city with slight variations in the menu, but I have to say that the food was wholesome, plentiful, and full of intentional nutrition. Highly recommend this one. But probably our favorite breakfast spot from the trip was Lamuka Wine Bar, even though no wine was had before breakfast. We were dying over their house-cured salmon and their generous application of red caviar on everything. The prawn shakshuka was also a standout and instantly inspired me to recreate it the moment I got home. So good. For lunch or dinner, we really enjoyed Kafka Hummus Cafe. This was a spur of the moment find that we had no reservations for. It's casual and you can sit outside to enjoy an alfresco Middle Eastern meal while people watching. It was perfect. Everything was so colorful and full of flavor. I also love the traditional Czech style potato chips here, which were perfect for scooping up their yummy dips. Brooks was another casual pit stop we enjoyed after we landed in Prague, and it came as a recommendation from my foodie relative in Los Angeles. The beef tartare and the octopus were definitely our favorites, but they are also famous for their perfectly cooked mussels prepared any way you like. If you are a meat lover, I highly recommend Beef Bar. They have several locations all over the world, and it did not disappoint. The tartare and the carpaccio were excellent. For our last supper, I wanted to go somewhere a little extra to thank my mom for coming with me on this trip and being such a pillar of support for me. So I brought her to George Prime Steakhouse. It was definitely pricey, but we really enjoyed the quiet atmosphere and everything was prepared to perfection. For some street food recommendations, I would suggest trying the famous Czech potato tornado, which is basically thinly sliced potatoes on a stick that are fried and then seasoned with salt and paprika. It was a nice little snack in between meals and something different that we usually do not indulge in at home. I was really pleased to find one of my favorite Italian gelato shops, Amarino. While we were exploring, their gelato is made from wholesome ingredients, low in sugar, and they adorn their cones with the gelato in a flower formation, and it's just such a pleasure to watch the petals being formed on the cone. It's a little moment of sweet indulgence. Another indulgent moment we had was sampling these delicious Turkish desserts from a local pastry shop we stumbled upon in the Old Town. We asked for a few slices of some different flavors like pistachio and chocolate, almond and lemon, and some other interesting combinations to try. We took the samples to go and found a little spot near the astronomical clock under the square's central monument to enjoy the views, people watch, and delight in these Turkish sweets. This was a definition of living in the moment. There is just something about being in Prague that made me feel like a little girl again, reconnecting with my Slavic roots, seeing the beautiful land and nature all around us, immersing myself in the culture, the food, the art, the music. It reignited a fire inside of me I didn't know needed reigniting. This trip will forever hold a special place in my heart for so many reasons. Prague is the place where my baby brand was born. It is the place I got to reconnect with my mom and spend precious one-on-one time with her. It is the place that made me feel at home, a feeling I rarely get to experience whenever I travel somewhere, especially without my family in tow. And to think this trip was entirely planned by artificial intelligence, and yet it felt so authentic and aligned with how I love to explore, it blows my mind. Prague, I love you, and I will see you again soon.